for doing your for keeping up with your expenses and your taxes and all of that? Have you guys put anything into place? What have you done?
Lori, I put all of mine on one credit card, so it's all tracked.
Smart,
And
smart,
we have,
smart.
yeah, so we haven't had a whole lot, so it's been manageable that way for now.
So you want to make sure that you're keeping up with your sign expenses, even clothing, right? Your clothing obviously is going to be different for doing real estate than maybe what you would wear every day. So some clothing expenses can be added. Gas in your vehicle, make sure that you keep up with your mileage, right? Sometimes your CPA is going to tell you that calculating by the mile rather than saving a bunch of gas receipts may be better in your situation. So your CPA may ask you for the mileage as well. Uh, I have quite often, and I have an Excel sheet that I can share. It goes right into my Google Drive, and I'm able to input any additional expenses. I have that by the month where I can go in each month and calculate what my expenses were and what I made to make sure that I'm actually profitable that month, right? Um, or by the quarter, however you choose to do it. But keeping those receipts in case you were audited is very, very important. So make sure that you have, for me personally, I have a folder on my desk and I just shove those receipts right in there. At the end of every week or the end of every so often, whenever I clean out my wallet of receipts, I put those receipts in there just so that I have them. I have a folder on my in my Gmail where I also keep any receipts. So I'll have, 2024 receipts, 2023 receipts, 2022 receipts, because some of those receipts for your education, for your MLS, all of that stuff, a lot of those come virtually, right? So by having just a folder where you can keep up with your receipts, God forbid you were ever audited, right? Your car insurance is something that you can likely claim. Heather and John, I know you guys have one specific vehicle that you're using for work. So with that vehicle probably is in your name. However, you'll be able to claim a good portion of that um, on your taxes whenever you file them. If there's a if there's payments on that vehicle, your CPA may ask to see your payment schedule, right? That you would have gotten from the dealership, showing the interest you're paying on it, all of that type of stuff, so that the depreciation and everything can be calculated year after year. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have ours paid off, but we'll keep that in mind for future if we buy
Right.
new.
There,
Even if
there,
even if it's paid off, you can still take a
Yeah,
depreciation.
depreciation for it. That's correct.
yeah.
So there may come a time that your CPA advises you to put your funds into an LLC. So, know the cost of forming an LLC. You can probably get one done for less than $1,000, but putting your funds into that can sometimes um, reduce the amount of taxes that you have to pay. You would be paying yourself then out of your LLC monthly, and all of your commissions could go directly into that LLC. Does that make sense? That LLC would need to be registered with the Texas Real Estate Commission. I'll be happy to walk you through exactly what you need to do for that when that time comes. I had my CPA one time tell me I needed to buy something big. And I said, okay, I'll go. I need a new laptop anyway. And he literally looked at me and said, no, like a car. Like go buy something big. So when you get to the point that you are bringing in additional money, you're going to want to look at, what do I need to buy before the end of the year? What do I need to buy for my business to sink that money back into my business? Because here's the fact of the matter. If you're going to have to pay $10,000 in taxes, why not go ahead and pay 8 or 10 for a vehicle instead of paying it to Uncle Sam? Does that make sense? Something that you would use, right? So be sure that you have a proactive CPA that you can sit down with maybe halfway through the year. Maybe you want to do it as much as quarterly. I found that halfway through the year was sufficient for me. That, you know, where he can or she can look at your income and your expenses and advise you as to whether or not there's something you need to take into consideration. Are your taxes going to be exuberant where you would rather spend that money on something for your business? Right? So making a good relationship with your CPA is ultra important. What else am I not thinking of that you can? Oh, a room in your home. If you are using a room in your home as an office area, or if you work mostly from your home, then designate a space as your office area. If nothing else on paper, Jessica, I know that you have a baby, right? But designate a space that can be your workspace that you can then let your CPA know the square footage of that space. And that can be included as a tax deduction as well. They will then want more information about your home. If you're paying rent, they'll want to know how much that is per month. If you have a mortgage, they'll want to know how much that is per month and probably calculate for some of the interest and everything else. So, so just know that because we office from home as realtors, that is a good tax deduction for us too, our home office. Okay. What else am I not thinking of?
Thank you. That's a good one for me because yeah, I do home work at home. My office and is in the home.
That's correct. That's correct. So that's going to be a good tax deduction for you, Jessica, as well as your clothes, right? Any clothing that you need to buy. That was something I think when I went into real estate, I didn't realize I could take a tax deduction on. But all of your education, make sure that you are calculating that expense and giving that amount. Now, I just had this Excel sheet that I shared with my CPA that totaled up the amount of education expense, clothing expense, gas expense, just whatever it was. I had all of it for the year calculated, which is why I kept it up by the month. And I can share this document with you guys so that you can use it because it automatically calculates for the end of the year, right? So I could calculate by the month and then it would then at the end of the year it would sum it up for her. And it just kind of made things a lot easier at tax time because I had basically kept up with it monthly, right? So that at tax time, I wasn't scrambling to figure out, you know, how much did I spend in education? How much did I spend in MLS dues and, you know, all of that stuff, signs or whatever, lock boxes, any of that you're spending money on. If you wait until the end of the year and you're trying to scramble, you will forget something. Something will not get calculated. Right. And that money belongs in your pocket more than Uncle Sam's. You're the one that worked for it. So by staying on top of it, it just makes your job a lot easier at the end of the year. Right. It's a business. You've got to treat it like a business. That also gives you a chance to really look at your expenses, and meeting with your CPA lets you know if you need to pour a little bit more money into your business to avoid some of those tax costs. but it lets you know where you're being profitable. It gives you a moment maybe to calculate some marketing expenses and whether or not they are being profitable for you, right? So it gives you that moment to really dig deep and look into those things, and make sure that you are running your business in a profitable way and keeping up with everything. This is treating it like a business and not like a hobby, right? Your Just to veer off of you for a minute and talk about your clients are going to need their settlement statement from either a sale or a purchase, right? Whether they bought or sold, they are going to have to provide that settlement statement to their CPA as well to show how much money they made or how much money they spent on that home. And so at the beginning of every year, sometime in January, I like to reach out to everybody that I closed the previous year, either by text or by phone call, and just ask them, hey, do you have a copy of this? You're going to need it so that you can make sure that you have that number ready for your tax preparer. So it gives you an opportunity to reach out to them. If they are close and you want to go by and visit them and take them a hard copy, I typically ask them, would they rather have it digitally? I can email it, or would they rather have a hard copy, right? If they would rather have the hard copy, I try to make it a point to be able to go visit them, right? And see them again face to face. Remind them, hey, this is what I do, without saying, hey, this is what I do. Right. And when they ask how business is going, you have a perfect opportunity right there to say, I am focusing this year on increasing my my reach. So if you have anybody else that I can help, let me know. Right? It gives you the perfect opportunity to ask for additional business, to ask for their referrals. Right? So that's just a side note. Make sure you reach out to everybody that you sold property to last year, or for, right? If it was a listing. What else am I not thinking of for your taxes? We've got the car, we've got the house, we've got the clothing, business expenses, keeping up monthly. Do you
Just
guys
going
have any
back,
questions? Yeah,
no,
talk to me,
I was,
Caesar.
I was just gonna say, just going back on the keeping all receipts and everything and keeping up with your expenses and everything. So years ago, I bought this accordion folder and it's literally divided by each month.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I know how much the expenditures were for that month. And then I also
right.
use gosh, what is that? It's an online software that keeps track of all my expenses and everything for me. And so all I
And
have to
there
do is,
are apps that you can get where you can take a picture of the receipt and it'll automatically file stuff. And you can get this as, as virtual and complicated as you'd like for it to be.
yeah,
Um,
right, right.
um, Whatever works for you, right? So if that app works best for you to keep up with those expenses, then do that, right? But find a way that you are keeping up with it. Hang on just 1 second, guys. I put it in the suitcase. It's in the top zipper. Find a way that you are able to keep up with it through the year so that, one, you're being accurate. God forbid you were ever audited, right? Knock on wood. But also, your accuracy is going to ensure that you're getting the highest amount of deductions that you can possibly take at the end of the year. Right? Because once again, you've worked hard for this money. Let's try to keep it in our own pocket rather than giving it to Uncle Sam.
Um, Classes that you paid for is one I think you might
Uh-huh.
have missed, and maybe
Yeah.
expenses like photography and stuff.
Oh, there's a good one, John. Great. Yes. Any of your photography, staging, all of those, you want to keep up with all of those expenses so that you can deduct for them on your taxes. I'm glad you said that because I think I've missed a couple of staging things now that you mentioned it. Now I've got to go back and look through the year. Maybe I missed one or two. Because
I work for you,
I didn't
Lori.
keep up with this. Thanks, John. But keeping up with that throughout the year, prevents you from the end of the year scramble and missing something. If you guys would like that Excel sheet, like I said, it's very primitive, it's very Excel sheet, but if you would like that, I can certainly send you a link for that document. You can kind of see at least how I did it and how you might want to set yours up. Jessica, talk to me, hun. You're muted, babe.
Sorry. Yeah, I definitely would love the Excel sheet. And I do actually have another question on as far as like, is there a recommended amount of money that you would need to make in order to get a CPA, or TurboTax would be the best bet until you make a certain amount of money? Or am I just completely lost with that?
So it gets really complicated once you are self-employed.
Okay.
I would think TurboTax might end up getting you in trouble unless you already have a background in tax information, right? So if you have somewhat of an accounting information, you feel like you can handle that. I on the other hand, had no accounting background, and I was afraid to put anything. I did try it the very first year I was self-employed, and it was just far too complicated. So I ended up hiring myself. And you can go with an accountant. That doesn't have to be an official CPA, right? You can go with an accountant, which is what I hired in the beginning, was an accountant.
Okay.
Because you're getting someone, my husband just pointed out a really good point. Because you're having somebody else who is doing this, they know what to look for, and they might ask you questions like the clothing. If Lori, my first CPA, had not, or she was an accountant, had not asked me about my clothing allowance, I would not have known to include that, right? So they will be able, because they stay on top of the laws, to let you know, hey, this is something that you may not be thinking of that you could also deduct, right? They're just better at it, and they're able to put more money in your pocket at the end of the day.
Okay.
And like you said, and you know it's done right. So there's less chance of an audit coming back on you too. Avoid the audit.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh.
Yeah, I found this out a few years ago. You can even deduct dry cleaning costs.
Yes. Yes, you can. Because it's considered your uniform. Yeah. Yep.
Now,
All of your clothing. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Now
You're
all the clothing, what if you lost a receipt or something? Like, can you
Yeah,
still
and
count it, or is that just
So
pretty much-
you should not, because if they came back to audit you, unless like Heather has her credit card thing, right? If you have it on some sort of a credit card where you can show that, that might be okay and pass an audit. But you've got to think, because you are not sending these receipts with your tax filing. You are keeping them in case the IRS ever comes back to you and says, prove it.
Gotcha.
And you've
Gotcha.
only got to keep them for 7 years. So, there's another good one Glenn just brought up. If you take a trip and you are, let's say you go on a local property tour while you're there, or you walk into a real estate office, or you have dinner with someone and discuss them moving to your area, whatever that looks like, anything you do that is real estate related, you can absolutely count your travel expenses as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Stop and think of all of these ways that you can legally make the most of it. Oil changes, maintenance on your car. Oil changes are getting expensive these days. Jeez.
If we meet a client for lunch or dinner, are we allowed to pick up the
Yes.
whole tab
Yes.
and write it off? Or
Yes.
okay.
Even if you don't pay for the whole tab, take the receipt.
Glenn said, even if you don't pay for the whole tab, take the receipt.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah.
This meeting is being recorded. He's right.
Why does it take it for your, for lighting a fire, kindling?
Do you guys have any other questions?
Yes, Lori, where can I get the Excel sheet?
I'm gonna I'll forward it to you. I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of it. I'll share it with everybody.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And go back through your clients from last year that bought or sold a home and get in touch with them and offer them their settlement statement. Because most of them go, oh, am I going to need that? Oh, he needs to know that information. Oh, I don't know where I have it. Did I get that at closing? So you're solving a problem they don't even know they have, which makes you an angel.
Lori, didn't I had shared something in Classic Connections, not this week, but last week, about using this as like a marketing opportunity as well, using tax time as a
That would have,
marketing opportunity?
yes, that would have been that letter that I was just discussing. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Sending the settlement statement to your clients and reaching out to them. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, so in the last connections, there was this letter that you can just passively send to everyone with their settlement statement. I prefer having the phone call, right? Touching base with them again, get that personal touch in there. There have been years in my life when I had too many to send out that I did not make that personal phone call and I just did the passive letter, which is why I have that letter. But if you're able to at all reach out to them one-on-one, or the ones that you think are going to be or have shown signs of being your best referral clients, right? To send additional referrals. You might pick and choose some of those, but make sure that you're touching everybody at least. But when I had 24 to send out, I found it to be overwhelming. My Decembers tend to get very busy already, just in real estate for whatever reason. My Decembers tend to get very busy, and I just was not able to get to everyone. So 1 or 2 years I've done that. All right, guys, I knew this was going to be kind of a short one. But at the same time, I want you guys to be able to make the most of your tax deductions, right? I think it's something that we don't think of whenever we go into real estate. So I want to make sure that I've got this in the front of your mind and that you're able to put in some sort of a system all year long that's going to help you keep up with stuff and make the most of it. And I'll get that Excel sheet sent out. Any other questions that I can answer for you guys? Any other ideas, suggestions, thoughts?
No, you've been very helpful.
Good. Jessica, you good, hun?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm good. Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
And I'm here if you have additional questions after this meeting. I'm here for you, hun. You've got my number. Shoot me a text, give me a call. I love hearing from you guys.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, definitely we'll do that.
All right,
Oh,
Brianna, you
oh.
good?
I'm gonna unmute for a second. Actually, my mom's an IRS agent, so I got pretty good systems.
Good. Would we all have that kind of support? Go ahead, Caesar. You had something?
Oh, I was just gonna say that, so the accounting software I use is, QuickBooks. And so
yeah,
I have,
yeah.
I have the app also on my phone, and it
Ooh.
automatically measures my, my mileage.
Nice. Yeah.
So it
It's
keeps
helpful.
track of that all for me
Yeah.
automatically.
Helpful. It's helpful.
Is
Yeah.
there a fee for the QuickBooks? Because I heard it was pretty good.
I'm actually using the free version,
Oh, okay. That works.
and it still works out really well.
Okay.
Good deal. Good information. Yeah. And if there was a fee, you would be able to deduct that as well.
That is.
Good one, Lori.
All right, guys. If y'all have any other questions or whatever, feel free to reach out to me and I'll do my very best. I am not a tax professional by any means. I think I mentioned that I had 0 accounting experience going into this. So, but I have learned a few things along the way, you know, at doing this as long as I have. And, you know, being told by my CPA a time or two that I needed to purchase something big. I needed to spend some money. So and he told me I needed to set up an LLC at one point. So it's just little things like that that can help you pay less taxes and keep more of your own money. Okie doke.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Okay. Hey, Brianna, is your mama there? Does she have any wisdom for us?
Oh, she says keep your receipts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's when it's going to hit you the hardest. God forbid they ever come back to you and say, prove it. But if they did, that's when, if they did and you're not able to prove it, that's when it's going to hit you the hardest. That's when you're, and then they may not want to look at just that 1 year that they were questioning. They may want to go back, you know, and see other years too. So absolutely keep your receipts for sure. That one's huge. All right, guys. Y'all take care. Let me know if I can help you in any way, and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
All
Thanks,
right,
Lori.
Everyone have
guys.
a great day.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.